Hey guys, welcome to the freezing Arctic P3 room. Are all the panel rooms like this? Yeah. This is the first time I've been in. It's freezing to me. Okay, so we'll warm each other up with some great voice acting stories here. This is Voice Acting Online, modern approach to the industry. Curiosity here, who here is interested in voice acting? Like professionally dabbling in it, just kind of seeing what's up? Sweet, sweet. That's a lot of you. Great, great. Welcome. Nice to have you. The key thing with this panel is that, oh, by the way, I'm a pacer, so expect a lot of this. I'm not going to sit down. A lot of things are changing in the industry. And I figured I would just go through with my experiences voice acting for about 6 years online. It's been about 3 years working professionally with Funimation, Nokotron, and stuff. But I'll go over my experiences and then open it up to you guys if you'd like to ask questions. You're looking for something specific that I can answer for you. That'd be totally cool. But my name is Jacob Browning. I've been voice acting at Funimation. Probably the bigger thing here at AnimeFest. I've been doing Cheer Boys, My First Girlfriend is a Gal, All Out. That was kind of my bigger parts. Of course, I've done the other One Piece, My Hero, just doing my things there and there. I've been in Smite, some independent video games, Streets of Red, and I'm happy to be here with you guys in my first panel, so yay that. And the first thing I want to let you know is I always wanted to be an actor. It wasn't always voice acting, though, because I didn't know that was really a thing. Maybe a lot of you can relate to that, like, who voice acts? How do you voice act? How is that a thing? But very much film acting was a thing. I went to college, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a film actor. Can't be a stage actor, they don't make any money. Film actors make all the money, they get all the fame. No, that didn't really work out. I went to college and I wasn't making any money, and I was just kind of surfing the internet like you do, and then some inspirations hit me. Maybe people you know, Aaron Egoraptor Hansen and Kira Buckland, known as Rina-chan. These are famous online people that voice act, and they kind of showed me that inspiration. I was like, how do you just voice act at home? Like Egoraptor, he just made cartoons, and he voiced it himself, and Rina-chan, she was helping out all these independent creators. And I was like, how is this a thing? And I found out technology has become advanced and cheap, and you can just buy microphones and just record at your house. And I was like, great. And I did that, and it was terrible. I didn't know how to act through a microphone. I didn't know how to make it sound great at all. I wasn't even using a good microphone. So I did everything wrong, and that's what I'm here to tell you guys. It's just like, I'm going to help you out. If there's something you're deeply invested in, you're curious about, I'm going to help you out, and I'm going to teach you about everything I did wrong. So, voice acting online. You would be surprised how many people are looking for actors specifically. We live in a world now where there's creators all over the place. Everyone's got spare time. They're making cartoons, they're making video games, they're making videos. Everyone's doing stuff on YouTube, you know? So everyone's always looking for something. And you can see these auditions anywhere you go. Online specifically, there's specific websites for auditioning online. There's a voice acting club space. Go to IndieDB, ModDB, go to casting call, Kickstarter. You can find these there. And there's just a plethora of content being made, and it's a good time to be a part of it. However, there's so many people also doing online work that the competition is more fierce than ever. So yeah, you don't have to be in LA anymore. It's like, oh, I need to focus just the LA circuit, because that work's being pumped through everywhere now. So when you're voice acting online, of course, you're doing everything at home. And these are what the professionals are doing too. The professionals, they're putting up their own home studios. I had a closet. So maybe you've heard about that. You voice act in a closet. Obviously, we don't have a booth. You try to record in a room, and of course, it's going to bounce off. It's going to reverb everywhere. So you had to record in a closet. So here I am, just buried deep inside of all my clothes, shirts hanging everywhere, just throwing towels everywhere, and I'm voice acting in a closet, dark, can't see anything, using like a little flashlight to kind of read a script, and I'm just trying my darndest just to make the words sound right. But that actually worked for me. That was a good start. So that is a proof that you don't need the whisper rooms, you don't need the recording booth. You just need to know how to handle the equipment, how to handle the room. And obviously, if a closet works and the clothing just dampens all the sounds, that's a great place to start, and that's where I started. Now, the actually working online is very difficult, because like I said, I wasn't acting very well. I had stage experience, I had film experience, but doing voiceover was a completely new field to me. How to show all the emotion and the action purely through your voice. To actually do something like video game grunts and efforts. If your character is hitting, I had to actually pretend I was hitting somebody. You know, instead of, it's like, oh yeah, I know the sounds. Ooh, ah, blah, blah. There we go, did it, you know? Like, no, I had to find a space, I had to like get everything ready and just like, you know, I had to actually pretend I was punching. And then it was a whole new weird thing of being embarrassed for myself, by myself. When you're performing like on stage or in film, you got everybody watching you, but you're just like, yeah, I'm acting, yeah, you see it. But when you're like in a closet punching air and making grunts, then you feel really weird and kind of just like, what am I doing? Like, is this really a thing? Will people listen to this? Will people know what I'm doing? Does this really work? And it does. Putting all that physical effort into it, it really works. Now, another thing you gotta think about when you're voice acting online, though, is you need to find like-minded people. Now, people will say networking, and that's true to an extent, but you need to find those friends. And the biggest benefit there is to let you know it's a hard industry to know how to do things right. There's not much information out there as opposed to the other acting industries. So getting these friends together, let you know, like, hey, I hear you doing this, you could work on this. Or, hey, you know, I know a good way to set up a room, you could do this. Hey, your microphone sounds a little iffy. I have a microphone, maybe you can try it out. Right? It's just having those friendships will really build toward each other. And I did my first 3 years voice acting, and I was just doing my best, and I just did what I thought was good, until I quickly found out I was doing things wrong. That, like even small things about your voice. It's hard to gauge where your voice is compared to other people. You can listen to people like James Earl Jones, and you're just like, oh yeah, smooth voice. And you're just like, I got a smooth voice too when I want to. However, maybe your voice quality has things you don't actually know about. One thing I learned when I became a professional was my voice was too harsh. My voice wasn't soft enough. So when I was doing anime, and they'd be like, hey, play this nice young, you know, high school boy in anime. And I'd be like, yeah, I can do that. And then my consonants would just be so harsh, and it'd just be something like, you know, like, oh, I can't wait for school. Like, oh, I can't wait for school. You know, just like, oh, I hit every consonant. Oh, yeah, school's the best. And it's very harsh. And I didn't know that because that's just the way I talk. So people are probably cringing at that. They're like, oh, man, who talks like that? And then I was told, like, oh, my voice is too hard. I need to soften it up. Oh, man, I can't wait for school. School's the best. And it was a world of difference. And it opened up so much to me, but I didn't know that. Because here I am in my dark closet not knowing what I'm doing. Just trying my best. All right, so when you're pursuing a career online, you have to have that online presence. I was kind of an online ninja, where I didn't want to be seen. Very, very private person, very personal to myself. So, you know, I wasn't doing much on social media, and I wasn't doing much in forums. So, for example, if you're looking for voice acting gigs on forums, you know, voice acting club or something like that, you know, you will see a lot of people posting like, hey, we are this company, or I'm this person, we're looking for this type of actor, we're working on this kind of project, you know, and I made the mistake of just not really developing my personality there, letting people know who I was. You know, I didn't have any social media accounts to link to, be like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm working on. So I was just the shadow of the voice acting world, one of many. And it's a weird place where online you have anonymity, but of course when you're an actor, you're building yourself. You become your own product. You become what you have to market. So you have to build yourself up in that way, and it's a whole new world for me. I don't like to brag, hate doing it, makes me feel cheap, makes me feel like a skis ball. But acting is a world where you have to relish that kind of attitude, and you have to accept that, and you have to boast about it. But not even, you don't have to be the guy like, oh, look at me, you know, like I'm the #1, the bomb, best thing you've ever seen in your life. No, it doesn't have to be like that. It's just, people gotta relate to you somehow. Because when you're an actor, you're always putting yourself forward. So for example, when you're voice acting, you have your normal voice, and you're gonna use your normal voice so much. It's not like, oh man, I got this great cartoon voice. You're probably gonna use your normal voice more than a different one. Just like if you were film or stage acting, people are gonna see who you really are. You can put on the makeup, they could do CGI, but most of the time, you're just gonna see who you are. I mean, look at Ben Affleck. You know, Ben Affleck, he's just the first one that comes to mind, like, oh, Ben Affleck, he's playing Batman. That's Ben Affleck playing Batman. You know, it's not like he disappears. I'm like, oh, it's Bruce Wayne and Batman. You know, it's like, there's Ben Affleck. Okay, you know, I've seen him. I've seen his face before. I've seen him in Good Will Hunting. It's the same dude. It's just now he's bulky. So you have to have that personal identity, and that was something I was lacking on as well, just making myself be seen. And more importantly, that would make me be heard. Auditions are the craziest thing. So when you find a gig online, you will see people asking for auditions. They want you auditioning for a specific character, certain kind of way. Now, a lot of times when you're auditioning, you might not see some good descriptions. Someone just might be like, hey, looking for somebody to voice a dog. There you go. And you're like, wow, thank you, a dog. Like, I can work with that. But you know, they might be more just good to be like, oh, yeah, here's a picture of the dog. And you're like, okay, now I kind of see where you're going. And sometimes they'll describe the dog, which is great. You always want a description to be like, oh yeah, he's a fun, you know, lucky, not a care in the world, just moving at his own pace. And you're like, okay, yeah, fun attitude, young, hip, I got it. Sometimes though, it will be contrasting. Sometimes you'll see that picture of that dog and just like, oh, look, he's got the big bubbly eyes, his tongue's hanging out, slobbering all over the place, and he's got a big fat butt, and he's just a fat little happy dog. And then they get to the description, and they're like, oh, this dog comes straight from Satan. He just grew up on the underworld trash, and he gets in a fight every second he gets. And then you look at that picture, and you're just like, I don't see it. Like, If a burglar broke into my home, the dog would go with him, like willingly, just be like, hey, buddy, where are we going? So you run into that. You run into those contrasts, and it's weird moments like this, again, especially as a beginner, I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Because that dog he doesn't look mean at all, but they want mean. And it's just like, well, what? And now that was my attitude. I didn't have an answer. I couldn't come up with an answer. So my answer was, that was it. But with experience, it's you go with your gut instinct. And I'm very big on visualization. So if you see a character and it hits you a certain way, if you're like, oh man, like I can see how he sounds, if that sounds kind of weird, but it's like the way I look at him, like I know how that would sound. Then you go with that gut instinct. There's a lot of times people will go for a specific thing, but they're kind of led astray. That they get caught up sometimes that characters change over time. So you might be writing a character, and you plan for that character to be a certain way, and then that character evolves into something new. And people can kind of get stuck to that, but it's best to always go with your gut. And sometimes they'll let you know, like, there is a pure contrast. Like, oh, I have a big, bulky, muscular guy, but I want him to have, like, a little baby voice. You know, like, we're going for, like, a Mike Tyson vibe. Just be like, yeah, we'll crush you, yeah. Just like, all right, I can see where you're going. You know, it's the comedy contrast. But there are times when you'll be hit by that, like, I don't know where you're going with this project, but there's something iffy with the feng shui. And it's always go with your gut. That's something I learned greatly. It was just, look at the character and see what you think that character would sound like in your own head. Just visualize the things. Round edges are more fun than sharp edges. Small things like that. Now, when voice acting online again, you can get agents because all the professionals are also doing projects online. And you would be amazed that a lot of stuff that's happening in LA, happening in New York, it's now going everywhere. It's going everywhere in the world. We're now relying more on that you can, if you have a good recording studio at home, you can record from home. You can record a commercial at home and get paid $2,000. You can record video games, you get paid hundreds of dollars an hour. That's a thing. Or you can go to a local studio. But as for the audition process, it's all going to happen online now. And it's always recording at home. And again, it's that you have no guidance. You read a description, and you have to go with that gut instinct. You don't have a director there telling you, this is what we're going for, this is what the show is, this is where we're going to go. Hey, that was a nice take, why don't you do it something else? You got to send it now. This is my voice, this is my take on the character, and you got to make sure it's good like right off the bat. You know, because there's hundreds of other people sending auditions at the same time. The competition is more fierce than ever. And it's just letting them know, like, all right, this is my take, this is my chance, I got it right here, here you go, it's what you want. But the competition is so high, you don't get that instant feedback. And you keep going, and you keep hoping for the best until you're me, and then you're like, I did everything wrong, but now I figured it out. All right, so I know that was kind of a splatter everywhere, and I think that's only because I'm kind of nervous about my first panel, but I'm going to open it up to questions, and I can divulge kind of into those specific things. But yeah, if you have a question, there's a microphone right there. If you want to use it, or if you want to shout at me, that's totally fine. But yes?
So when you're putting together a reel to go and audition, how long, like 5 minutes, how many voices, to give them a taste of what you can do, would you suggest?
Okay, so when you're doing a reel, and there's many reels, you can do a narration reel. You can do a video game reel, anime reel, character reel, yeah, commercial narration. Yeah, so you can do all these kind of different reels, and they each have their own specific thing. Narration, for example, that's going to use not so many voices. That's mostly going to focus on your natural voice, and it's going to be a longer demo because narration is a very long, arduous task. But as far as like anime and video game, that's when you're really going to show off different voices. But again, always showing your natural voice. When people listen to demos, they got 2 questions right off the bat. And it's one, what do you sound like? And yes, you can do the character voices, but the main thing they're going to be interested in is your normal voice. What do you sound like? The second question they're going to ask is, can the person act? So those are the 2 main questions you need to answer in every single reel you can do. Best to answer them, as you may know this, right from the start, because people are not going to listen to your demo if they don't have the answer right away. People listening to a demo, they're probably going to give you 10 seconds. 10 seconds before they've already made up their mind, sometimes even less. They're going to make it up right from the get-go. But for demos like that, for commercial, for video games, for anime, you want to stick to about a minute. Because again, they've made up their mind in the start to begin with. So the rest is just icing on the cake. If you answer the questions like, oh, he can act and I could use that sound, they'll go ahead and listen to the rest of it, but they're not going to give you their whole day. But yeah, if any longer and they don't like you, they're just going to stop at 10 seconds. So it doesn't matter. So 10 seconds is the key part right to begin with, but the minute to flesh it out. As for as many voices you can do, keep it to your best. And keep it not so bouncy all around. A lot of things I see when people make demos is they'll be like, here's all the voices I can do. Every single one. And it's just like, wow, that's a lot of voices. Guess what? I didn't really hear any of them because you were just going so fast and like had no subject. So when you're working on 60-second demos, it's best to create a segment for each voice. So if I came out with like a high school voice, just a higher pitched voice, I need to show where's that high school kid and what is he doing? You know, is he just a gym class? Or is he trying to give his crush a love letter? You know, I need to paint that picture. And it just kind of set it up and finish it real quick. And as long as you can do certain segments, and again, the segments won't be long. They'll be like 5 seconds or so. And just as long as you're able to tell like a complete story with that voice, that's really all you need. But to give you an actual number, if you had a 60-second demo, maybe about eight voices or so, like on average. Yeah. You had a question? You can come on up. He's got a microphone just for you. All right, sir. Oh, the stream. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to repeat the question. So the last question was, how long should a demo be? And that was my take on demos.
So anyway, being the online ninja that you once were, what advice would you give for building a sort of online acting persona?
Okay. So what would I do for building an online acting persona? Well, obviously, social media is going to be the biggest thing. That's what one thing everybody looks at. So, I mean, you people know it in your own lives. It's just like, oh, yeah, look how many friends I got. Look how many followers I got, you know? Voice acting goes the same way. Sometimes it's kind of hard to gauge how much exposure a certain actor will give a certain project. Like, oh, man, I'm going to cast Bob Jeffries here because he's good, and I think he has a following base. I think, but he's an internet ninja, as opposed to this guy, or this gal, Janet Jeffries. She's like, I can see she's got 10,000 followers on Twitter, and that speaks to me more, because like I know, like, hey, that's kind of me giving out a product that potentially 10,000 people have access to now. Because Janet's going to promote the show. She's going to promote it to her 10,000 followers, and as me, the person who's putting out the product, that's 10,000 more potential customers, and that speaks to me, as opposed to the ninja, who I have no idea what his fan base is like. So sometimes that will play into effect. Now, when you're actually building it, though, I mean, it's kind of best social media practices, and it's just kind of putting your best foot forward, but being professional at the same time. Because a lot of people think it'd be a little too personal. It's a weird cross when acting, because it's like, how do I be professional when I'm being myself? You know, like, only because it's like, it's a main, maybe, I'm not sure if this is controversial or not, but look at the James Gunn situation. He's recently, Disney's not happy with him because he did some very questionable tweets, like back in the day, like 2006 or something, I can't remember. But like, he made some questionable tweets, people dug it up, exposed it to Disney, and they were like, oh no, that's not right. That's not family friendly at all. We don't want to work with him. So you have that weird cross where I believe firmly that you should always be professional. Now, professional doesn't mean you're a blank wall. You're not a void. It's just like, I'm professional and hello, my name is Jacob Browning. I am a voice actor. Like please, like, I do good work. You know, like, you're not a robot. You are still very much a person. So it's not like you need to hide certain things. Like if you're an anime fan, if you want to get into anime because you're an anime fan, then yeah, go ahead and flaunt that. It's not like it's something like, oh no, like I do not have, a Vash the Stampede cosplay ready to go at a moment's notice, because that would mean I'm just a fanboy and not professional. That's not the case at all. I mean, obviously, maybe your fans would love that. Maybe there would be certain fans be like, oh man, like, I love that the guy is a voice actor and a fan, that he cosplays. You know, like, I will preach Evangelion. Like, that was a big inspiration to me back in the day when I started, so I love to talk about the show whenever I can. But the main thing is that even though you can still be yourself, you can still put yourself out there, and you can show people your likes and interests and show things that you like and share it with everybody else. It's just kind of like, it's kind of that old social media rule. You don't put something online that you wouldn't want your mother to see, you know? Now you'd be judged for that. And because you put something on the internet, it's never going to go away. That it's pretty much there for the rest of their life. Somebody's going to find it. I don't know how the internet wizards do it. I don't know how they dig up that gold, but they do. So it's best to just, I would say, be family friendly. However, I can't set the golden rule for that because there are a lot of people who can find success by being very, very intense, I guess is the word, like the correct. See, that's me kind of being like, oh, I'm not going to call them a-holes, but like they're intense. Like, you could get a girl on what Maury or whatever, or no, Dr. Phil, and you yell at her mom, and then all of a sudden she's got a rap career. Like, I don't know how it works sometimes, and that's the weird thing with careers. It's just like people can find success out of nowhere and at the wrong, they can be the wrong person at the wrong place at the wrong time and still find success. It's absolutely crazy. So my best advice is just when you're putting yourself out there is just put your best foot forward. You don't need to hide the foot completely. Just put your best foot forward. Any other questions? Come on up.
For someone that's putting in the effort into trying to make it a career, what would be the biggest barrier to their success?
I'm sorry?
Biggest barrier to their success for someone who's putting effort into the career?
The biggest bearing to their success? Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, barrier. Okay, I'm sorry. So when putting the effort into your career, what is the biggest barrier to your success? You're going to run into a lot. The main one though is just it's the old cliche, and it's just that your chances of getting in, like making it a successful actor, somebody who can do acting full time, chances are against you. It's just a well sought after job with not as many positions. It's not quite in demand. So that's the biggest wall right there. It's just like you're gonna run up against this wall that's like, all right, my career is on the other side of this wall. Here I am, the wrong end of it, and it's how do I get past this wall? And the only thing I can say about that wall in particular is that you can't do it yourself. And it's not really a wall you can get around. It's a wall you're going to have to break down. You have to break it down with years of effort, with years of work, and with years of friendships. You're going to have to build yourself up and those around you to take this wall down together. Now, some of the other things that are going to be obstacles for you are the things I noticed, or things I said before, where you're going to have a hard time telling how you're doing. It's hard to say, my acting needs this, my voice could do this, that my networking skills could be better. It's hard for you to see that all in yourself. So that's why I kind of bring up those friendships again, is that you can work with each other. Maybe one of you has access to a better studio, and you guys share that, or maybe one of you can. It's easier to see what other people are doing than yourself. So you can look at somebody and be like, "Hey, your voice is great for this character, but your emotion seemed a little off. Like your emotion was supposed to be sad, but it was a little joyous. Like your tears of sadness sound like laughing, snickering to me." And I was like, it's a little unclear. And that's just the technology violin playing me. So I think the friendships would be the best. I don't want to call it tool, but the best thing to help you. And not only does it to help each other, but it kind of serves this foundation of where you are, where you want to be, and what is possible. Any other questions? Yeah, sir. Come on up and speak to the microphone.
So would you say that YouTube is the best site as far as getting yourself out there on the internet, or do you have a suggestion for a different site that might be better for voice acting?
Sure. Okay, so is YouTube the best site, best path for voice acting? A hard question to answer, and that's because there's so many venues in the internet. So you have YouTube. You have Newgrounds. Those are the people I mentioned before. Newgrounds, I'm not sure if that's still popular today, but it was popular back then. So like Newgrounds was Egoraptor and Kira Buckland, Aaron Hansen. So that's how they found fame. But yeah, YouTube, you can see people who found fame through YouTube. But other things too. There are, Instagram models. There are, there's the Vine stars. Vine isn't even a thing anymore, but the Vine stars certainly are still doing stuff. So there's a lot of venues for the internet that you can approach with creativity and even specifically voice acting. And it can work. It can always work, but you're just not sure if it is the best one for you or if what you do is best for that venue. Again, like for example, Vine. Like Vine was very short, very 6 to 7 seconds, and I've never learned how to pronounce the guy's name, but you guys probably know who I'm talking about. But ProZD or whatever. Like he got very famous off the Vines because all his content was very short, very very snippet, and he hit the kind of this niche market, like people who related to him on a level, and now he got a lot of success out of that. Like from an outsider's point of view, I don't know him personally, but YouTube itself, it's shifted, because back when I started, a lot of the work you would do was animation, and this is again go back to the Newgrounds. Newgrounds was all independent artists making cartoons and flash animations. YouTube used to be very very good to animators. It's not anymore. Algorithms have changed. Animators aren't making much money as they used to because now they want more content and more time. And animation is a very, it's a very small amount of time of content. It takes very long to create. So the algorithms have changed. However, there's still a lot of voice acting going around. And it can be things you wouldn't even think of. You can think like, oh, I need to be in a cartoon. Like I want to play this alien on this cartoon, who's a megalomaniac, and he's just the funniest guy in the world, and you want to play that cartoon, and you think it would be a big thing. But, like, doing those episodes are going to take a lot of your time, as opposed to something like Watch Mojo, which is a big YouTube channel that just does top 10 lists every single video they make. But guess what? There's somebody narrating Watch Mojo every single video, and that person's doing a lot of work. And sometimes there has to be creative waves, like how can I put a twist on something that's been done and proven, and how can I make success out of that? And look at Honest Trailers. The Honest Trailers guy's voice, like it's just kind of a joke copy of that whole "in a world" kind of voice. But that's all the twist you need, and you got a whole new series of videos that you're doing that epic voice for these very dumb trailers, and that proves to be very successful. So it's always hard to say, what is the best method to attack for the online presence? Because it kind of just depends on your content and depends on your character as a person. And when you do decide to hit it, you have to hit it as hard as you can. And YouTube itself, I do YouTube. But it's all just, you have to play to that YouTube audience. So I tend to be a very casual person. I tend to be a very chill person. But you know what's successful in YouTube? It's being very loud and aggressive. Because you look at, it's a kind of a joke now, but that you see those people getting millions of followers, and they're always like, smash that like button, hit that bell, buy the merch, and you're just like, dude, your video wasn't even that good. Thanks for yelling at me. So it's there's a lot of science behind it, like thumbnails. Like they proved that thumbnails get best clicks when there's like a face on it, like a person's face, and if they make like a strange face, that probably gets more clicks, and that's why you look at YouTube and every thumbnail you go through, it's always some guy just going, "Whoa!" It's like, oh, great. Like, I kind of know what this video is. And it's just probably people being like loud and obnoxious, but that gets a big thing. Kind of like the kid market in YouTube. Like kids will watch a lot of questionable content, like GTA 5 mods and Spider-Man and Elsa from Frozen, just like doing the weird stuff together. And it's just like, all right, like, okay, like it's a strange world. So the answer to the question, is YouTube the best to approach? I mean, YouTube's good. I mean, a lot of people are iffy on YouTube, like, oh, it's dying, or it's better than it's ever been. But I say YouTube's a strong market to hit, but there are other avenues to hit as well, and you have to think just what's the best for your content that you would like to make. Any other questions for you guys? Yeah, come on up. There's a yellow microphone down the journey. A trek for you.
How do you overcome allergies?
Allergies, sure, okay. I only laugh because I have the worst allergies. So I actually woke up with allergies today. All right, so I mean, obviously the first thing is just the question is how do you overcome allergies? The first thing is just finding out what you're allergic to, and then just basically managing it. I didn't know for the longest time I was allergic to cats, and I live with a cat. And it's just like, oh, great, like, that was the dumbest move I ever made. But, no, I just learned to manage it. So, basically, it's just finding what works for you. Everybody's body's different. That's why we're all allergic to different stuff, you know? Like, does drinking tea, like the allergy tea, does that help you? Does taking Benadryl help you? Benadryl doesn't help me. It turns me to a zombie. So, yeah, like, I don't take Benadryl. So, I mean, I guess all I could really say is, like, what's worked for me personally, which is, like, nasal sprays. So, I mean, like, my doctor just turned me on to that, and he was like, Jacob, you're a mess, because I'm sneezing all over his place. And I'm just like, oh, I know. You know, it's just like, all right, so here's what you do. You take these nasal sprays. And I'm just like, no, they never work. And he's like, well, you're supposed to take them 2 weeks in a row, and then they start working every day. So that was news to me, because I was like, why don't they just work? I just spray in my nose, and I'm done. No. All right, so you have to spray it 2 weeks continuously, and then every day. And that's pretty much where I am now, and I'm great. The cat doesn't even bother me, even though I still keep him at arm's length. He's like the biggest love ball, and he wants to love me till I die. But I'm just like, get away from me. He's a fat Maine Coon, and his name's not Willie. So I know you guys would appreciate that. So allergies a thing, but even more so in the voice acting world, just being sick. Being sick. I've been to professional recording jobs, and a guy would show up sick. Like we're doing Walla or something. Walla, which is you're doing background noises for a show. So if you're, I didn't mean for it to be that ominous, but it's, there you go. So you're watching a TV show, and it's here's these two characters in the mall, and you hear the two characters mostly, but there's chatter going on in the mall. There's all these people in the world. Theoretically, in the show, the world doesn't revolve around these two main characters, even though that's the ones we're interested in. There's all these other people in the mall, and we need to make that sound. So they'll get walled together. It's four people, 2 guys, 2 girls, and they'll be like, okay, we want you to just make up some chatter of these people in the malls, you know? So you go in the booth and you improv the chatter. So you're just like, oh man, you're gonna buy another pair of shoes? How many pairs of shoes do you need? Shut up, you need all the shoes? Yeah, and you're just like, oh man, I just want to get a cookie. So go find me at the food court. You know? And it's really stuff like that. It's you're not making up Shakespeare. You're not making the big, this is my Oscar-winning moment. Here it is. I'm going to lay it all out. Here's my tragic story of woe when I was 5 years old and somebody stole my Ninja Turtles ice cream pop. It's just I'm going to lay it out. No, it's very much, how people fake the choir. They're just watermelon, watermelon, watermelon. Oh yeah, I'm singing, Mom. Watermelon. Yeah, we kind of just do that. It's just oh, I see Gab's having another sale. It's kind of just whatever, you just kind of make it up as you go. But yeah, one time I went to Wallet, and this guy was he had the flu. He legit had the flu, and no mask, the little surgical mask. He wasn't containing it or anything. And he did a double whammy, which I didn't understand. He brought in a large McDonald's milkshake. Which in the voice acting industry, they tell you don't drink milk before you record because it phlegms you up. So you sound congested, you sound kind of phlegmy. So they don't want that. But this guy, he had the flu, he had cold sweats, he was sneezing, he sounded awful, and he had a large McDonald's milkshake. And I guess he was just my throat hurts. And I'm just well, you got a sore throat? And he's like, nah, it's good. I'll just drink the milkshake. The milkshake soothes my throat. And I didn't feel like I was in the right place. It was a weird thing. Like, one, I want to tell him to go home, but two, it's like, I'm not in charge here. I'm just the other talent. I'm just recording with this guy. So, you know, all I did was just make a mental note, and I was just like, stand away from that guy, you know? So, like, so you record in the recording booths are always small no matter where you go, and sometimes it's meant for one person, and they're just like, get 4 of you in there, and you're just like, okay. So, you know, it's just me cramped against the wall next to Sneezy McGee, just like, the Gap has another sale, I see. You know, just like trying to voice act my best when this guy's going to town. And, you know, and you can't fake something like that. You can't fake that you're sick, especially if you hear it. Funny thing about being sick is your voice is usually the first thing to go. They don't sound sick. So your voice changes just slightly enough that it can be noticeable. You know, when people say, oh, you sound sick, like that's a thing. So obviously that guy, I mean, well, actually, no, like they let him record. No, I won't say who it was, but like they let him record, which I was amazed at. I mean, they didn't. Usually you can do some Walla stuff, and then they'll have you do some solo stuff as well, just kind of like get you your money for your time. And then, so they didn't have him do any solo stuff, but they let him record the Walla. But it was just, it blew my mind that this man would be close proximities with all these other actors who cannot afford to be sick. So, I mean, I kind of told you my take on allergies, but like just being sick in general, you have to do your best. So like, I mean, that's why I just have like Purell, like ready to go, because like con crud, you know. So like I don't want to be sick because then I lose out on opportunities. Not only could I not record a job, I could not audition to book a job, you know. And fun thing about the career, online voice, I don't see it that much, so that's good. But like professionally, it's can you record this now? Can you audition like 2 days ago? Can you go back in time, please? Because I need it. And it's all very short notice. So like, yeah, I'll get an email and it's be like, hey, you got an audition. It's due 3 hours. Like, you got to do it. And it's as convenient voice acting could be to make your own schedule, it also can be very inconvenient that people always seem to need it at that moment. So that's why people go to such great lengths not to be sick in the voice acting industry and kind of acting in general. But it's just, the biggest thing is just kind of knowing your own body, knowing what works for you. Like again, I used to take Benadryl till one day, it just like, it was zombification, and then I started doing nasal spray. And I mean, moving to Dallas, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I'm a Midwestern boy, and Dallas was terrible for my allergies, but you know, just figuring it out. Any other questions? Come on up.
So it's 2018. We're in a panel about online voice acting.
Yeah.
How long do you say it's going to be before brick and mortar agencies die?
The people who run the industry are kind of old school, is kind of the funny thing about this, especially LA. A lot of old school people. So not only like the producers and content creators, like the TV stations and radio stations, like so old school, but a lot of the people who are still in the business are still old school. So internet, yes, it's a very young, new thing. But even getting an agent is kind of hard to do on voice acting. And I think that would be a next logical step. Somebody representing somebody who, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the area. So like you want an agent, you have to be in that area. Like, oh, I have a Dallas agent. Oh, if I went to LA, I would need an LA agent. And that's just kind of how it is. But people are kind of opening up to that because one agent, because when you have an agent, you just have an agent and they get a lot of stuff. So for example, Smite. I recorded for Smite. Smite is done by High Res, and they are in Georgia. But their auditions go pretty much all over. So, you know, like I auditioned in Dallas, and I recorded in a studio in Dallas. So they are kind of opening it up a little bit. But I don't see them going away anytime soon. There's a very specific order they've established back in the day, and they seem like hell bent on like making sure it stays there as long as possible. But and it's not only the internet that's changing, but like just the areas in general. So LA it's always been the big place. They do commercials, films, video games, all in LA. A lot of people have actually been moving south to Georgia and Dallas, or Texas in general. And that's because California is just becoming too expensive. So the main reason they even started in California was because it was hot. Because it was hot year-round. It was like good weather. So the film industry was like, hey, we just sit here in California, we can record year-round, as opposed to like New York where wintertime comes and we can't do anything. All our movies have to be shot indoors, like no outdoor scenes for 4 months of the year because we're in New York, as opposed to California where you just do it year-round. And that's why they're kind of staying toward the south now in Dallas and like Georgia and places like that where it's cheaper, but it still has got that warm weather. And of course, those businesses attract other people. So that it's attracted more commercial work, and that's attracted more video games. Anime is a weird story, though, because it just seemed to set up in Dallas and stay there for a long time. That's just the way it worked out. But internet has become a thing, and it will continue to grow, definitely, but I don't see the old school way going out anytime soon. Not at all. Any other questions? Come on up. Thank you for asking so many questions, by the way. Thank you, Dorian.
Like, where would you like find a work as a voice actor or places to audition? Like
Online?
just like anywhere really. Like where would you do that?
Okay. So the question is, where would I find work? Well, sticking specifically to online, I already named off some websites, but there are websites dedicated to finding online work. Voice Acting Club, I think, is still around and doing well. Voice Acting Alliance, I think, is not so alive. But if it comes back, it was my favorite. But there's a Casting Call Club. There's ModDB if you're interested in doing mods of video games. IndieDB, which is great for independent creators. Kickstarter. Kickstarter is always good for independent video games as well. So in Kickstarter, you'll find one of two beasts. You'll find people who are already legit and just making sure they have people who want to buy their new product. And they're usually not so welcoming to the smaller independent voice actors. But if you find somebody who's just got a great idea and they actually have the skill and the motivation to see it through, those people are really good to follow up with. And it's good to see the opportunity, such as those forums, such as like Casting Call Club, where it's just like, hey, I see these people are looking for voice actors. I'm a voice actor. I can help out with that. However, it's also a thing to just ask. And I've done that in my career, and I've actually I've struck gold. And I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming at all. So, you know, it's just like you see a great project, and you're like, hey, I really like your stuff, and like I just want you to know if you need a voice actor, I would love to work with you. And a lot of times you're going to be ghosted. And a lot of times they actually might be like, heck yeah, let's work something out. Like, yeah, I could use a person like you. So asking is always a good thing, not only just looking for all that content yourself. But like if you wanted a more professional way, yeah, you're probably going to have to move where the action is. So you would need to be in a place that has agents or a place that has good recording studios at least, such as Dallas. I moved here, like I said, to Dallas from Ohio, and that's because Columbus, Ohio didn't have anything going on. There wasn't much to do. There was definitely no film, definitely no video games, and very little commercial work. So if you trying to break into that was very difficult. But the top 5 biggest cities looking for voiceover is LA, New York, Dallas, Atlanta, and Nashville. So those 5 cities are absolutely great for voiceover. And just moving to them and looking for that work. And like those sites are good. Even Craigslist, you can find acting jobs. But most of the work that is going to be good for you will come from your agent. So finding an agent is not a necessity, but if you're looking to break into that professional scene, an agent can be very, very valuable. They got time for one more question, if anybody has it. Come on up.
So, is there a game, anime, or TV show you would love to voice in?
That I was the voice in?
That you would love to
Oh, love. Okay. Well, this sounds kind of silly, but I mentioned Evangelion before, and they're coming out with the 4th film that's being made, and I'd love to be a part of that, just because it was a big inspiration. I don't need to be, you know, because I already know like the main cast. I'm just like, man, I'll appreciate them from afar. That's cool, you know. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So, but as far as the other stuff, I kind of always wanted to do like Metal Gear or something, you know, because like those characters, they're just so fun. Like it's fun because like I don't get that guy. If you guys know Metal Gear, because now I'm speaking to specific people, but like that's a pretty big game, so I think you guys kind of know it. But like Kojima, the guy who created it, he's very much like I'm going to create this like hard world, and it looks very factual, and then like they're throwing acronyms all over the place, like Snake, the DCA has come in and they're going to blow up the city, so you need an AXA ASAP, and you're like, oh man, like it sounds so legit. And then some like floating guy wearing a gas mask reads your mind, and you're just like, what? And then you're like, well, what is happening in this game? And some crazy shaman with a big Gatling gun dies 3 times, and then he's just like, yeah, I'm fine. And you're like, what? So like it's this contradiction of like, oh, it's so super realistic, and then it's like hyper exaggerated at the same time. And I find that amusing. I find that like, oh, I'm gonna be a gritty realism 80s action star, and then you know, it flips the tables, and then you're just like, oh, Meryl, I caught you in the bathroom. Oh no, you know, like, oh, you're like, yeah, that's great. All right, so bathroom comment always closes the panel for me, so you guys made it successfully. So yeah, thank you for joining me on my panel, guys. I loved it.